Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, ladies, gentlemen, and otherwise. I'm Rodney Brown, here with Nerd Week Live on YouTube, our nerd news show brought to you by us, nerdcaliber.com. I am solo tonight. As you can see, there's nobody else up around you here, which means you get to see this wonderful pixelated 720p built-in webcam on my laptop because I'm not at my house. Look at that. It also is obviously adjusting the color balance on the fly, which, because I'm using Google Hangouts instead of Skype, which is what I normally do, I don't have the ability to adjust manually the color balance. So you get to see, because I'm using the blue lights, which I did bring with me, the daylight balance compact fluorescents that are in the overhead right above me give me a nice green cast as the automatic software tries to balance out these two things, which has no bearing whatsoever on what we're doing here. You got to give me a little bit of time, because since I'm working on a laptop, I have to bounce back and forth between a bunch of different browsers and pieces of software. So normally, when I'm at my place, I've got two 24-inch, high def widescreen monitors, and I've got different pieces of software on each, and it works out great. Um, Here on the laptop, while it's a great laptop, not so much. So, because I'm solo, this is going to be a fairly quick show. We only have a little more than a handful of topics anyway. It wasn't exactly an incredibly busy week for nerd news, but I will try to get into depth with each one of them and give you everything you possibly need to know or want to know about what's going on in each individual topic. So we are going to start with the very first topic is, if you're familiar at all with this wonderful piece of entertainment, that is from the animated series The Boondocks, itself based on a comic strip. And the news is that there's going to be they call it a revival, not a reboot, of The Boondocks. That is really awesome news. It is it's definitely going to land on HBO Max. It's a 2-season, 24-episode order. So right out of the gate, they are giving this series 2 seasons, two 12-episode seasons. It is being revived, as they say, by the original creator, Aaron McGruder, and Sony Pictures Animation, which is the company that did it in the first place. This is launching in next fall, so about a year or so from now, a year and a month or so will be my guess, with a 50-minute initial special to get it off the ground, which is really cool. In addition, all of the original 55 episodes of the original series, which was on Adult Swim back when it first aired, is going to be on HBO Max right when it launches. And that's very cool news for anybody who hasn't seen this. Since they're going to have the old episodes on there, and the old episodes are based on the original cartoon strip and then expanded out because, I don't think there was enough to do 55 full episodes of the original cartoon strip. One would assume then, because those old episodes are going to be able to be shown, that the newer stuff is going to be newer commentary and new storylines, as opposed to just rehashes of the original series. At least that's what I hope, and that's kind of what Magruder has said. And I'm really having a hard time not saying MacGruber. Don't know if anybody knows that Saturday Night Live reference, but anyway, Magruder has said that. So if you haven't seen any of the show, it is a very social commentary, political commentary heavy, very funny, but very socially aware, politically aware cartoon. And Magruder said, given what's happened since this was on the air a decade ago, all of that social commentary, which includes a character called Uncle Ruckus, who is sort of a bizarre neo-fascist, is just much more applicable today. And I gather from the way he's talking, he's going to have a ball running with it. So I think that's going to be very cool. I'm looking forward to it. HBO Max has already made enough announcements about the stuff that's going to be on their streaming service that it's kind of a default gotta get. I mean, it's not as amazing as Disney Plus, but it's definitely got some things on there that I'm going to definitely want to pay some money to see. Pay my $5.99 or whatever it's going to be. Um, and this just adds to it. This is one of the sharpest, most amazingly written cartoons that was on Adult Swim ever. So look forward to it. Check it out, and you guys should enjoy it. It's a lot of fun and very smart. So our next topic is, I'm not really sure where to go with this. So that picture is one of the very few pictures I could find of Jared Padalecki of Supernatural fame with his partner and Supernatural Jensen Ackles wearing a cowboy hat. And apparently this was some episode in Supernatural where they both are in Old West or something. Anyway, they're both wearing cowboy hats. The reason I wanted to find a picture of him with a cowboy hat is the news is that Padalecki is going to be starring in a reboot of Walker, Texas Ranger. It's kind of on the edge of being nerdy enough for us to really cover, but, before I finish, John, welcome to the show. Um, I'm glad you made it. Thanks for coming over to YouTube to watch it, and hopefully you'll learn a lot about some of the stuff that's coming up here. It'll take me a few seconds to bounce back and forth between these chat windows and when I'm talking about stuff, so give me a second to respond to anything that pops up here. But back to Walker, Texas Supernatural. It is going to be, according to what I've read, it is going to be an actual reboot, which CBS has done and likes to do. It's being made by CBS Television Studios, but they haven't found where it's going to go. Apparently, they think that CW is a really good fit for it because of Supernatural. So it may wind up on CW, it may wind up on CBS. But CBS has done actual full reboots, new actors, new storylines, same concept with Hawaii Five-O, with Magnum PI. That's the way they do it. This isn't a revival. This isn't a continuation. It's certainly not a sequel. This isn't going to be Walker's son. This is, in fact, going to be the same character that Chuck Norris played. As far as I can tell, and this was a big concern, Chuck Norris is not involved. There were a lot of people here who were who really wanted to see this not have Chuck Norris producing in any way, shape, or form, and there's nothing in the article that says that he's going to be part of it. So, they can. Those people who have made that comment to me can rest easy, at least until we find out otherwise. But yeah, so it doesn't have a home, so it doesn't have a time. We don't know when this will actually appear, but it is absolutely happening. This is CBS Television Studios has made the announcement. Produced by Dan Lin, who did the Lethal Weapon series. Dan Spilo, who did something called Sunnyside. I don't know at all what that is. It turns out Padalecki is from Texas, which is why I guess it makes sense for him to do it. I was under the impression, in fact, I know that Ackles lives in Texas, and I was under the impression he was from Texas too. So I don't know whether the two of them fought over who wound up doing this or what, but this was literally it could have been either one of them. They're just plug and play, a couple of Texas boys. So we don't know whether it's going to go down a supernatural route with scary monsters or demons or anything like that, or whether it's going to be straight up a Texas Ranger going against crime lords and drug lords and typical criminal activity. So stay tuned. If you're a fan of Supernatural because of these two guys, or at least because of Padalecki, you're probably going to fall right in with this. If you're not, it's not nerdy. It's Walker, Texas Ranger, and not the two kids, from that Will Ferrell movie. It's not Walker and Texas Ranger. It's the show Walker, Texas Ranger. But that's what we got, folks. Watch it if you want. I won't be. One, because it's not nerdy. Moving on. And this brings up a wonderful clarification. We talked last week about the Battlestar Galactica, what everybody at the time called reboot, that is going to be coming up. When I first saw it, I was absolutely against the concept. Couldn't imagine anybody doing a reboot better than what Ronald Moore did back on Sci-Fi. But as it turns out, the guy who's doing it is Sam Esmail, um, who did, completely lost it. Mr. Robot. Took me way longer to remember that than it should have. And Sam Esmail is an amazing writer, an amazing producer. So I got behind it. I said, all right, I can buy this. I can see this. Well, it turns out I'm even more behind it now because it's not a reboot. Esmail went on Twitter and made it very clear that what he is doing is a continuation of the Battlestar Galactica series that Ronald Moore rebooted. So it will be in that universe with a whole new story. That makes it even more exciting for me. That also makes me a little concerned because if you recall, if you were at all a fan of this, you recalled the spin-off series, which which tried to tell the story of how the Cylons were created, a spin-off series called Caprica, which didn't even finish out its run. It literally got shut down by Sci-Fi with 2 episodes left to go. And that was too bad. It was a really smart, well-written series. It was just so completely thematically different than the military run from the bad guys kind of chase show, which Battlestar Galactica was. And I guess it didn't take off. The people didn't, jump on it. Yeah, which is too bad. I liked it. I thought it was really good, amazing acting and writing as always, and wonderful exploration of the worlds and the cultures in the Battlestar Galactica mythos. If that's kind of what Esmail is going to be doing with this, he's got a tough road to hoe. They need to do something that's a little bit more thematically like the original, the reboot show was, something a little more action oriented, a little bit more exciting. They can still have all of the wonderful writing and the politics and the drama and all of that stuff, which Galactica had in spades. It was an amazing show that way. Uh, but at its core, it was also an action show. And Caprica wasn't, and I'm hoping that this potentially Mr. Robot inspired new version or new stories from the Battlestar Galactica universe are going to be action and not more Mr. Robot type. I love Mr. Robot, but the writing was really amazing, but it wasn't any better than Caprica, and Caprica went nowhere. I watched every episode that aired, but not a lot of other people did. So fingers crossed that this actually turns out to be something that really takes off well. But we don't know exactly when this is going to land. It's going to be on. This is when we talked about this last week. It's because it was one of the first announcements about what's going to be on Peacock, the understandably named, but horribly named upcoming streaming service from NBC Universal, which won't launch for a couple of years. So I'm assuming that this won't happen for a couple of years. I'd like to think it will be a launch product. So in let's say late 2021, but probably 2022, this thing is going to be coming out, and the show hopefully will be one of its premiere launch shows. But we don't know. It's so early days, no way to tell that yet. Our next topic is not really so much a topic as a, hey, did you see? Hey, did you see Nightwing's butt? Nightwing's costume. Sorry, my bad. This leaked out of the set of Titans, the wonderful show streaming on DC Universe, into its second season now. And finally we get to see what's clearly the Nightwing costume that Dick Grayson's really should have been wearing from some point earlier in the first season. Um, Kind of a spoiler alert if you haven't seen the first season and you really want to not have it spoiled for you at all. Um, Maybe not listen for a few minutes until I wave my hand in front of my face like this. Am I still up? No, you didn't see that. Until I wave my hand in front of my face like this, and then you can come back, or turn your headphones back on or whatever. Um, about 2/3 of the way through the first season, Dick Grayson decides that he really, really isn't keen on being Robin anymore since there's already another Robin, Jason Todd, who is wonderfully written, and he burns his Robin suit. And there's no going back. But he doesn't have a suit after that. So for the last few episodes, he's just in his, casuals or police, detective outfit or whatever. Um, and so far, in the first couple of episodes that they've already aired of the second season, same thing. So it's nice to see that this is actually going to happen. The blue character with the eye patch, or blue and gray with the eye patch and the red hair, or red mask, I think, because it's actually silver or gray hair. That's Ravager. That is Slade Wilson's daughter, Rose. And of course, you've got Connor Kent. You can't see that. Bring the image back up there. So Ravager, Connor Kent, and Nightwing. Can't wait to see this. It's going to look really cool. And everybody kind of freaked out when it finally popped up. I think this is one of those where when they say the image leaked, finger quotes, air quotes, they officially leaked it, I'm sure, because they wanted everybody to get jazzed about the fact that, oh, look, we got Nightwing coming up, which is fine. That's, if that's the way they do their marketing. Brady, welcome to the show. We are talking about a bunch of different things. Right now, we're on the leaked images of the Nightwing suit from Titans. Oh, um, that was Brady, in case you're wondering. That was so people who might have turned off the sound can actually come back and listen again, because it's kind of a spoilery thing that I was talking about something about season 1 of Titans. And again, apologies for the automatic color shifting as my laptop webcam tries to figure out how to balance blue lights and daylight balance compact fluorescence. So we've got that. We've got a couple of other topics. I'm solo, so we're going through them pretty quickly. We'll probably be done within a half an hour, 40 minutes. And we're already about midway into the show. But we do have a couple other really interesting topics to come up, so stick around, Brady. Um, and in fact, our next topic, I'm really keen on this. I don't know if you've seen it. I don't know. We tried talking this up, or we have been talking this up since they made the announcement. That is a scene from the first trailer for the upcoming Netflix series Raising Dion. And Raising Dion is a comic that didn't get nearly enough attention when it was out, but got enough attention with the right people that has been made into a Netflix series. The article that is here on geek.com mentions the fact that if you look at the trailer, you can see Michael B. Jordan is in it, playing the main character here, Deon, playing his father, who is deceased at the beginning of the show. And doesn't mention the reason he's actually in here doing this is that this is being produced by Michael B. Jordan's production company. He found this comic series and optioned it and pushed it right through into the series that is now. Dennis Liu is the character or the creator of the comic book, and he made a short film based on the comic book called Raising Dion. That was probably the first thing that caught Jordan's attention. We don't know for sure which. The story is a recently widowed young mother is raising a young lad all by herself. Uh, Dad was a scientist. Dad's best friend, also a scientist, played by Jason Ritter, is trying to help out the family. And then she discovers that Deon, the young lad, has superhero powers, which triggers a whole bunch of problems for her, not the least of which is sort of government conspiracy a la Heroes, people tracking down people with superpowers, other people with superpowers with their own motives, trying to uh, influence what's going on with Deon. Um, it is a family story that is wrapped wrapped around it is a very large superhero government conspiracy, um, adventure story, and the comic book won, yeah, great praise when it came out. Short film won awards, and I'm looking forward to this series. It looks really good. I'm really impressed by the people who are involved in it. Can't wait to see it, and it's not that long. It's coming up this fall. So let me find an actual date here. Um, October 4th. So just a few weeks, folks. Uh, Excellent. That gives me something to do when I, something to watch when I'm back from New York Comic Con, assuming that my brain will actually function once that show is over. Because New York Comic Con is crazy, crazy busy. So Raising Dion, folks, check it out. I'll show you that picture one more time. October 4th, Netflix, um, based on an absolutely critically acclaimed comic series. Looks really cool. Very much looking forward to it. And I'm also very much looking forward to what Michael B. Jordan does as sort of his first outing as a executive producer. Even though he is involved in the acting end of it, it's more his baby as a producer than something he's involved in just as an actor. Our next topic is those lovely ladies, those badass ladies, are going to be in another spin-off of Arrow once Arrow ends in this its upcoming eighth and final season. What you were looking at there are, from the left is Mia Smoke, who is the daughter of Ollie Queen. And this, by the way, this is some spoilers for current or for season 7. This has already been out there, but if you haven't watched season 7, again, might want to jump out or turn your headphones off or whatever at this point. Mia Smoke, daughter of Ollie Queen, and with the name Smoke, obviously of Felicity Smoke. Um, and she is an archer, goes by the name Green Arrow. In the middle is Dinah Drake, who is one of the Black Canaries. And on the end is Laurel Lance, also the Black Canary. Um, this looks really awesome. It's kind of Birds of Prey ish. Um, and I like that a lot. I really like the idea that this will be sort of a Birds of Prey. It continues the Arrowverse, which is great for people who were fans of Green Arrow. Luminous, counting down to New York Comic Con. Me too. Um, Lower Twin Cosplay. You have no idea what this is. This is a live show which normally has a few other people on it. Um, and we talk about nerd news that happened in the past week. We go over some of the things that you might have missed, give you a little bit of context, go a little bit more in depth about what this means and why it might be something you should pay attention to. You're not into American movies? Well, it's not a movie right now. Lower Twin says he's not into American movies. This is a new TV series coming from the show Arrow on the American network CW, and it is basically going to be a spinoff with Oliver Queen's daughter as the Green Arrow. So my guess is it's actually going to have the title Green Arrow, although they don't say that in the article yet. The stuff that we know about it so far doesn't actually have that the title will be Green Arrow, but that these are all people who are currently in the run of Arrow. So it's Catherine McNamara who plays Mia Smoke, Juliana Harkavy plays the Dinah Drake version of Black Canary. And original series, right from the very beginning, Katie Cassidy is the sort of Laurel Lance version. It would take way too long to explain why she is Laurel Lance and kind of isn't. It's alternate realities and things like that. So don't worry about it. But it is Berlanti Productions. It's Warner Brothers Television. It looks like it is going to be really solid. They don't say anything about whether or not um, any of the other characters from Arrow will be coming over. You would assume that Felicity Smoke, that Emily Bett Rickards, will be involved, um, but we don't know for sure. Um, so we're looking forward to that. This article on Deadline makes the comparison, and it didn't even occur to me until I just read this, that this is kind of like another Archer show. Disney Plus is eventually, way down the road, a couple of years from now, going to have the Hawkeye series with Kate Bishop, who is Clint Barton's protege, also known as Hawkeye. So this is a little bit similar, but they're obviously going to be jumping out of the gate way earlier than than Hawkeye, because that's got a while to go. Um, but yeah, so looks good. I'm looking forward to it. It doesn't say that this is going to happen immediately after Arrow, like it's going to be next season. But given the people that are involved and the fact that they have to keep them under contract, and there's no place for them to go, like Katie Cassidy isn't going to jump over to Legends of Tomorrow, I don't think. She might. Then I'm assuming it is going to jump right in right after season 8, which is this upcoming season. So we'll see. But looking forward to it. I like the idea of the cast, um, and I like the idea of the story. So looks impressive to me so far. Our next topic. Yet, speaking of CW, speaking of the Arrowverse, yet another addition to the roster of Supermen coming to the Crisis on Infinite Earths crossover that will be hitting all of the Arrowverse shows, Flash, Legends of Tomorrow, and of course Arrow, when they come up this coming. Also Batwoman, when they come up this coming December into January. So they've already made the announcement. That's Tom Welling, who played Clark Kent in Smallville, and that's Erica Durance, who they announced after they announced Welling, who played Lois Lane in Smallville. They are both going to be portraying their characters in Crisis on Infinite Earths. They've already announced that in addition to Tyler Hoechlin, who's going to be playing the Superman character that he plays in the Supergirl series in the Arrowverse. Oh, sorry, Supergirl is also in that roster of crossover shows in the Arrowverse. So Flash, Arrow, Supergirl, Legends of Tomorrow, Batwoman. They announced that Brandon Routh, who played Superman in Superman Returns, is going to be playing a version of Superman in addition to playing his own character in Legends of Tomorrow, Ray Palmer the Atom. So they now have 3 Supermen that will be appearing in, I'm assuming, alternate realities throughout this enormous crossover. If you're not familiar with the crossover, just a second here. Lower Twin Causeway. Are you going to Comic-Con in Los Angeles? San Diego Comic-Con, when that comes up again next year. We have had a team that's been there. They weren't available this year. I'm personally not, but hopefully we'll get that team or another team back to San Diego Comic-Con and WonderCon, which is its sister con, this year. So we're working on it, Lower Twin. So fingers crossed. But getting back to the Crisis on Infinite Earths, it's way too complicated to go into a whole lot of depth. But basically, Flash, as he has, if you've been following the series Flash, screws up time travel and creates alternate reality problems. Um, what DC Comics did with Crisis on Infinite Earths is it tried to use that to compress a whole bunch of alternate realities and therefore different storylines into one storyline. Like the Justice Society, which was originally, when it was written, was a DC property back in the 40s and 50s. When it was brought back into the DC continuity, they were from an alternate reality so that they could actually exist at the same time as the current Justice League. When Crisis on Infinite Earths happened, it sort of compressed all this stuff together so that, in fact, Justice Society was a previous version of Justice League. Uh, all of these alternate realities sort of all came together. Um, and then that just didn't work very well because they continued to write alternate reality stories and eventually they just completely screwed the pooch on their own plans, which is a DC thing to do. But in this upcoming, Crisis on Infinite Earths on CW, they don't have to worry about that. They've got 5 shows that they have to mess with timelines, and they've shown. I haven't been keeping up on Flash. I know they've shown at least 4 solid alternate timelines, and then with all of the Harrison Wells alternate realities, there's probably way more than that. That's a feature of Flash is that they keep having different versions of Harrison Wells, um, very important character from the first couple of seasons, showing up from alternate realities. And personally, I find it amazingly annoying, and that's one of the reasons why I stopped watching the show. It's basically just a big wet kiss to the actor so he can try to do a Sherlock Holmes version of Harrison Wells or an Australian. It's just, it's sad. Um, yes, yes, John. Damn it, Barry. Um, starting to, you know what? So Laura Twin says this is kind of starting to sound like Undertale and the multiverse, and now they need their resets. That's exactly a great comparison to what happened in the comic book. I don't get the impression that they're going to be using that because they don't need to. They haven't written themselves into a corner with alternate realities in the CW Arrowverse comics. Um, yes, John, 41 brother, Kevin Conroy is going to be Bruce Wayne. Um, Kevin Conroy is the voice of Batman, considered to be the ultimate portrayal of Batman, the voice of Batman from Batman the Animated Series and many, many of the DC animated movies. And he is amazing. He's going to do one of his very, very rare physical live acting gigs, portraying Bruce Wayne. They haven't said anything about Batman, portraying Bruce Wayne in this upcoming Crisis on Infinite Earths. The possibilities are just endless. Um, 41 Brothers says now they got to get Linda Carter as Queen Diana. There has been speculation that that's in the works. I think it would be awesome if they did. I think they are getting what's the word I'm looking for? Um, Throwback guest star saturation level. So of course, like John Wesley Shipp, who was Flash in the previous Flash series, played Barry's dad in the current Flash series, but also plays an alternate reality Flash using his original costume from the previous series in the Flash. So, you know, they've got Ship and they've got all of these other people now that have portrayed so many different versions of the DC characters. I love it. As a fan of comics, it's an enormous and comic entertainment, movies, TV, and so on. It's an enormous, wonderful thing to see them do this and see them come back and do some sort of portrayal. I'm just thinking that they're going to start scraping the bottom of the barrel. Although I have seen, I was talking to somebody this past weekend, and they were saying that they would love to see Mark Hamill come back and portray he's been so many wonderful things. Maybe the Joker, maybe the Trickster. Um, you know, do something. And I think that would be awesome. He was a trickster in this current run of the Flash. So yeah, I think that would be great. There's so many wonderful people that they could get, um, and we'll see whether or not they get any more. Whether any of these other speculations, like Linda Carter, are actually going to turn out to be really true. Um, John Wesley Shipp was also Jay. You're right. He was Jay Garrick. Um, There was another, sorry, 41 Brothers said John Wesley Shipp was also Jay Garrick in the current CW Flash. He was. I believe there was another Jay Garrick when they were doing the whole Zoom storyline. I'd have to look that up. I seem to recall a different actor portraying, definitely a different actor portraying um, Jay Garrick in the Zoom storyline. But it's been a couple of years, and no, I may not be remembering that accurately. So feel free to correct me in the comments. Anyway, that's our last topic. We did run this just a little over 30 minutes, which isn't bad. I thought we were going to go a little bit shorter than that. Thank you for the commentary. Thank you for the questions, the comments, and so on. That actually made this go by a little bit quicker. Um, I'm sorry, that's not what I meant to say. That actually made this more interactive and therefore take a little bit longer, and it made it a longer show instead of the rushing right through it to get through topics like I kind of normally do. So we will see a bunch of you folks hopefully at, well, next up for us is next weekend is another Anime Con, which is a relatively small anime convention that is going to be Chelmsford this year. And I should remember that since I'm not at my place. I'm house sitting for a family member in in a place that is literally 8 miles away from the hotel where this is all going to happen. So, where AAC and other anime conventions are going to happen. So we'll be at another anime convention. But then the next weekend after that, we are going to be at New York Comic Con all 4 days. We will have a panel Sunday at 2:45. It is called the Cosplay and Photography Shootout. If you are a cosplayer, if you are a photographer, and you like having fun and being challenged, come to the panel. We'll sign you up. We randomly pair cosplayers and photographers together, and then we have the audience vote on a topic out of a small group of topics that we have predetermined. So those cosplay and photographer teams all have the same randomly determined topic that they then have 30 minutes to run out somewhere on the show floor or wherever and get the best image they can, bring that back to us. We put it up on the screen, and then our panelists, which are me, Wonderland of Photography, Kehet Elysium, who's one of the most amazing cosplay photographers in the world, and Spectra, Jabri, who's an amazing cosplayer, fantastic armor maker. We're all going to be critiquing those particular images. So if you're going to be at New York and you're going to be there through Sunday, uh, stop at that and have fun. Even if you don't want to participate, stop, ask us questions, because we got to kill 30 minutes while these people are out shooting. So come ask us questions and then watch the critique and see all the amazing images, and they are amazing. We did this at PAX East, and we ran way over time, which was unfortunate because we were the last panel of that particular night, and we kept the enforcers up way past what they should have been uh, monitoring our room. But the images were fantastic. You can see them on nerdcaliber.com. Just search shootout, and you'll see there's a few of them. You'll see the most recent one will be the one from PAX East 2020, because we don't have the one that we just did at Granite State Comic Con, a couple of weekends ago. That's not up yet. New York Comic Con, Rhode Island Comic Con, Super Mega Fest, which is up here in Massachusetts, and in between then, LeakyCon, the Harry Potter convention, which is coming to Boston this year. So we'll be at LeakyCon. So if you're at any of those, come say hi, get your pictures. If we are doing our video interviews, get your interviews. We always have an interesting question or just want to talk about your costume. And otherwise, I will see hopefully a whole bunch of you next week, next Tuesday, for the next edition of Nerd Week Live. Thank you and good night.